So thank you, sir, for this opportunity. It's great to have you on this feature. We're going to talk about the culture of innovation, which is very essential to have in any school. I've seen schools doing or giving freedom to their students to work on projects that let them experiment on new things and take them out of their comfort zone. Sir, can you share a couple of examples, like how are you creating a culture of innovation for students in your institution?
So one has to understand that if you want the students to be innovative and take decisions and to plan things, it cannot happen directly. There is a hierarchy in between that first the teachers have to be allowed to do what they want to do, to experiment. And before that, the principal has to be allowed, and that the management has to allow them to do that. So if the management thinks that they're going to allow the children to be innovative without letting these two people be innovative, it cannot happen.
Right.
So management cannot communicate to the children directly.
Correct.
So the communication has to happen. The management has to allow the principal freedom. Ma'am, aap, sir, aap experiment karo. So when the principal gets that opportunity to experiment and the opportunity to fail and not worry about it, then the experiment happens. So suppose you put the pressure of experimenting and success is what is required. So this is what goes wrong, because the top boss will always ask, give me a plan, because they want to eliminate all the failure chances, but not realizing failure is so important to learn.
Absolutely.
Because once you fail, you understand I do not have to do this, and you automatically become cautious about that failure elsewhere. So in my innovative projects, I've had failures. And I always talk about those failures. I love talking about this because I took one batch to the Sabzi Mandi to understand the wholesale market and the retail market, and let lot more things in business studies and economics and things like that. So for that, I asked the children to do research at home as to what the parents are buying vegetables and fruits at. So they did a 1 week research, and then we collected money from homes. The children came in. We came to the class, we did a lengthy procedure of an hour where we decided what is the total number of potatoes I need to buy. Because supposing it's a batch of 40 children and 30 children wanted to buy 5 kilos each, so we need 150 potatoes, right? 150 kilograms potatoes. So we made a chart like that. And then when we went to the mandi, we divided the money amongst children and we gave them two children one item to buy. Go experience and come back. So we went to the wholesale mandi. So there's one wholesale mandi which is inside, and there's one wholesale mandi which is outside. So outside you buy smaller units, but inside you buy the whole sack. So we went in to buy sacks. So we came back, the school went up at 1:30 and we had 40 children with us. We came back at 12:30. Now the disaster. When you come back at 12:30 and you have to divide the potatoes into 5 kilos, 2 kilogram packets each for 40 children, and you have 1 hour and you only have 2 weighing scales, how will you do it? So only that the potatoes will happen. So it was a disaster. And I've learned a lot from, but you know how you convert the disaster to understand things. So we also realize that when you weigh, you buy 2 kilos, he may give you 2 kilo 10 grams. You know, just for that weighing scale to drop this side. But when you're buying 150 kilos, he'll just put 1 extra potato and that comes this side. But from 150 kilos, if I want to make 150 bags of 1 kilo each, it's not going to happen. I may perhaps be able to make only 145 bags. So I've lost 5 kilos. Now, this is what is not there in any book.
Absolutely.
We can only, so now how we created that situation for us to understand. Well, we went, we had to take 2 days to distribute the vegetables. The onion box had so many peels in it, the onion sack. So much of weight. And the worst thing was tomatoes, because you bought the whole carton of tomatoes. And now they have white tomatoes, green tomatoes, pink tomatoes, red tomatoes. But now how we took it in our favor was that this is grading. Grade A, grade B, grade C. So when you go to a vegetable market, you get 2-3 variety of products, right? Because the qualities are different. So we used it in our favor, but it was unplanned. So you had to now accept failure hoga. And the next time when we went, we made sure that okay, we will not go inside. You go inside to find out the rates. But you do your buying outside. Where they are giving you at wholesale prices, maybe 1 rupee extra, 1 kilo, 2 kilo packets. You do your shopping from there. But we can go inside and do the study.
Absolutely.
So now when you learn from that, I took the children once to a factory where He brought us inside, and it was a aluminium foil factory. So they were pressing the aluminium and banging it to make it into foil. So he brought us inside and he started explaining, and there was so much noise. You could not hear him at all. And we went to another factory where they were doing mining, marble, RK marbles. But what he realized the difference, he was an MBA graduate. He took us to a room first, showed us lot of pictures and explained things. This is quilling, this is drilling, this is that. And we were wondering, why is he not showing us there? But when he took us on site, you could not hear anything because the drilling was happening.
Absolutely. So you can't hear anything.
Yeah. So that became in our course, it's called vestibule training.
Correct.
You create an environment like that.
Correct.
So this is what, you should be allowed to experiment.
Absolutely.
So my principal never told me, okay, you wasted your time, We understood that, but they also knew that intention was not wrong.
Correct.
So I have done so much of theatre, and I'm not a theatre person, but I can conceptualize very well. I'm not a dancer. I can choreograph very well.
Wow.
At the same time, to get the permission from the principal to allow me to do theatre.
Correct.
He knew I was not a theatre person. So we were great success in that. So after 5 years, I asked him, I said, Father, why did you allow me to do theatre? What was in your mind? Look at the principal answering this question. He said, one, you are not asking me for money. Second, you are the only one asking me to take permission. No other teacher has come to give any creative idea. So I said, let him do it. Wow. If he fails, it's okay. I won't do it the next time. So now again, that concept which I introduced with, the management has to give the principal freedom.
Very true.
The principal has to give the teacher freedom. So when I get freedom, I'll of course be responsible, but I have to allow the children to experiment.
Correct.
So if I do not allow, so experimenting is in every way.
Correct.
We have exhibitions, we tell them, you decide upon your medium. So he will tell, sir, can I use Ranbir Kapoor in my presentation? I said, why not?
Right.
Use Ranbir Kapoor in a presentation. We had one leadership camp and they wanted to use this girl from a very famous TV serial, Game of Thrones or something. There is one, this queen which has two, not vultures, but two of those dinosaurs or something, she has those animals. So, it was not be an easy thing to talk about in classroom, but this is we think she's a good leader. I said, why not?
Experiment.
Someone said, Malika Sherawat is good leader. I said, why not? They had gone to Kashmir and the names that you can't use. They said, no, he's a good leader. I said, see, all the people leaders, you have to write this side. I want to know the qualities. And once you write the qualities, I remove all the names. Because my textbook talks about qualities.
Correct.
But you reach the qualities through these people. So I've got no problem when you think that one of the opposite country has got a good leader. Write down his name, write down his quality. I'm going to remove that name very fast. Correct. So that will not going to remain.
Absolutely.
So that is to be allowed.
Correct.
So we allow children to think.
Absolutely.
So when the children have thought about that leader, but I've got the quality which was required by me, so I don't have to worry.
Absolutely.
So that allowing, like you asked a question, Kate, how do you get it done in school? You have to be very, very open. You have to be ready for criticism. Criticism more or less from your colleagues, and you have to hear things from one ear and let it go, provided your immediate boss is okay with you. So you have to learn to balance that out. But if you don't allow where do we allow the children to think? We are imposing the exact thoughts in their mind, so they are not thinking, and then we tell them they don't think. Correct. So if you've got a guard or a peon, अपना दिमाग लगाता नहीं, आप उसको अलाउ क्या अपना दिमाग लगाने को, आप तो हमेशा टोक देते हो उसको, तुम सोचो मत, तुम यही करो. So he will not think. Absolutely. So with children, it's the same thing. Allow them to think. They may go haywire. You'll come back.
Correct,
so you should have that, patience with you, that aura of calmness around you. I will listen to your nonsense. No harm. Go ahead. Let me know what is your mind. Because until that so-called nonsense, not the actual nonsense, so-called nonsense doesn't come out. Correct. He's not empty with it. So how will you put something more?
Absolutely.
He has to be out of that. So I think that's the most important thing for management to understand. So bosses have to allow the principals to experiment, give them a budget, tell them don't worry. So like I always tell my students, don't worry about failures. Failures we accepting first one.
Correct.
Anything like if you tell, वो ना बोल देगा, ना तो पहले कबूल कर लो, वो तो ना बोलेगा ही बोलेगा. अब chances हाँ के हैं. ना तो एक्सेप्ट कर लो, तो काम करो, वो तो ना होनी है. हाँ हो जाएगी तो कितना अच्छा बात है. So that attitude has to be filtered down in the organization.
Absolutely. And as rightly I've observed school, I've worked very closely with school principals. When the management gives free hand to this principal, the school blossoms. I've seen the culture changing in a year's time with a new leadership.
See, when you allow your servant कि तुम बताओ क्या बनाओगे, now the responsibility is on him or her to make it very good.
Absolutely.
But if you lay down restrictions, he's not allowed to think.
You spoil the food.
Yeah,
I have seen like somebody is sitting on my head, I have to make in certain way. I ultimately end up doing nothing. And it's so important to celebrate failure also.
You learn from failure. See, failure you got once. So like when we send school for inter-school competitions, when they come back, and my only concept to them, did you learn something? I'm not worried about your performance. You stood first, second. First, second is, there are so many other reasons why you come first. There could be another lot of undercurrents happening. That's not my concern. You be very honest. I ask the teachers to go. Don't tell me we were good but we didn't stand first. Don't give me that story. Give me 5 things that you learned from others.
Correct.
Is that going to help you in life? That's okay. Whether you come first, second, third, I'm not bothered.
Right.
You went and took part. It's a win-win situation for us already.
Correct.
So if you go in that style, so then the children get a lot of confidence.
Absolutely.
So we are sending them out to learn. It actually does not bother to me whether they come first, second.
Absolutely.
Because I know the undercurrents.
Correct.
So
and it's
why
like,
should I get bothered? But I'm happy that they are happy.
Absolutely. And when your confidence is up, like you're more open to experiment with projects, and this is where you become creative, and this is when the innovation starts.
To think.
Exactly.
When I put the pressure on you to come first, you're not listening to anyone. You're only wanting to go and deliver. So you're not grown.
Absolutely.
Now when you come back, they tell me, "Sir, uske na 2 points बहुत अच्छे थे. Pick them up." So you allow them to grow.
Correct.
I think that's how we have to look at things.
Thank you so much for that answer, sir. So what do you think about GSLC Inspire 3.0?
GSLC, see, any of these events that I see, I do like to go out. And what I realize is if one goes out, you learn 2 things. One, you can pick up a lot of good things. The other thing, that there are a lot of bad things happening. So you understand why it is bad. So there's positivity in that also.
Right.
Say supposing one speaker was not a good speaker, or can you try to see what can I pick up from him? If there's any good point, or these were the 5 bad points. I should not pick them up at all.
Right.
So you learned something. So again, everything cannot, you have to convert it yourself into a win-win situation. So there's like when children or teachers go for workshop, so the workshop was खराब थी, मुझे बताओ खराब क्यों थी? So the resource person was not good. So this means that the next time when you go, you find out who the resource person is.
Absolutely.
Why did you go without knowing the resource person? So now this is what you learn.
Learning, yeah.
So, and it's perfectly fine. So we wasted 1 hour. उस 1 hour में सीखा क्या होगा मुझे बताओ. There's something that you've learned.
You would have learned, yeah.
So that is what you understood. I should not do my presentation like that.
Right.
That's what you learned.
Absolutely.
You already won. So I don't find, like in comparison basis, I always feel good, bad. कुछ तो सीख के ही आएंगे. You meet people, maybe out of 20 speakers, you've not heard 3 you're hearing 3 for the first time.
Right.
You've not interacted with them. So there's so much of things happening, and you come to know what is going around. So again, I think such a program like GLC is more important that unknowingly people are sharing the best practices.
Absolutely.
So at the breakfast table, I'm not selling anything, but we principals are meeting. So we are meeting very casually without any formal restrictions on us. So we are understanding what someone has got to share. So again, you learn that. And if you got projects with you, people are joining for your project. So like for me, I think I've spoken to 5 principals, which I did not speak on the mic. They all are wanting to do projects with me.
Lovely.
So that's an excellent thing. So they all have come to Jaipur. So it's good. You're interacting with people and sharing your ideas.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you on this channel. Thank you.